America goes all in on crypto laws. There are now 45 states advancing over 200 Bitcoin and crypto laws across the US. Welcome to the crypto capital of the world. People tend to forget so much has happened. We're about 8 months into this year. And first and foremost, it's so crazy to wrap my head around the fact that we're already 8 months into this year. I'm sure you guys can relate to this, but look how fast things have happened. Go past in the previous year, under the previous administration, these things were, once a dream, speculation. It's becoming a reality. The Genius Act being one of the biggest ones out there. And a lot of clarity coming towards the banks. Speaking about the banks, let's take a look at this right here. I want you guys to focus on this video. So let's go watch that.
So our role with Bitcoin really is to look at, with crypto, really is to look at the banks, and we think it's banks are perfectly able to serve crypto customers as long as they understand and can manage the risks, and it's safe and soundness. A good number of our banks that we regulate and supervise do that. The threshold has been a little higher for banks engaging in crypto activities. And that's because they're so new and,
All right, so as we can see, our good old friend Jerome Powell, guys, has come out and said, banks are perfectly able to handle crypto. And, their main goal is to, set clarity because, when it comes to banks, now, if you ask yourself a question, why were the banks, whenever you would go, and I'm sure if you've been in this crypto space for quite some time and you have walked into, one of the major banks, and you spoke about crypto, these guys just go crazy. And what I mean by speaking about crypto, you're not just talking to them about crypto for no reason. Let's say you're transferring money to, an exchange such as, Binance, what's another one? Coinbase being one of the biggest ones. If you're an OG, you guys know that by far was the biggest fiat gateway. Now it has gotten so much easier. And sometimes your transaction wouldn't go through. It would be blocked off. And then you would have to call, the bank security department to be like, hey, you know what? Yes, it is me, the one that is sending money. And they'd be like, are you sure you're sending money? Because, this is crypto, blah, blah, blah. They did not have a clear understanding. And that's what changes now. And banks being able to provide crypto to their services changes the game. Yes, it's not going to happen overnight, but the fact that they got the clarity, it's not just overnight they get the clarity and the banks are like, you know what, let's get this going. There's a lot to it because, of course, if banks are going to be offering crypto services, they need to obviously have self-custody set in place, brokerages. There's a lot of factors into this. But if you're looking at job numbers right now, just over this year alone, and even the projections, crypto jobs are going to increase, not just within the US, but in North America. And that is due to clarity and the demand that is coming for the digital asset space. But let's take a look at what's happening with the broader market. If you're looking across the board right now, we're seeing quite a bit of green. Today's Sunday, but still impressive moves within the crypto space. XRP is up right now about 0.1%. So nothing crazy, but it is up at $3.11. We're down about 0.3% in Bitcoin. Comparative valuation at $184.7 billion. And the 24-hour trading volume at about 3.1 billion. But before we get into any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer, anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So another crypto company taking advantage of the IPO craze. Your boy Crypto ZX has been talking about how this is going to become a norm. And at this point, we're seeing pretty much constantly more and more crypto companies that are wanting to go public. And here is another example right in front of us. So one of the biggest ones as well, Gemini. So crypto exchange Gemini has taken a big step towards going public. The company's S1 statement was released on Friday, August 15th, revealing the exciting details about its plan. This marks Gemini as the latest crypto firm to pursue an initial public offering in 2025. Earlier, secretly, the company had filed a draft registration statement with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, in early June. Ripple line of credit, 150 million, which is quite interesting to think. But here we have it. Gemini is going public. Gemini, yes, guys, another crypto company to go public, and I think we're going to see a continuation of this happening. Of course, this boom is going to slow down eventually, but I think it's going to become a norm where, things really start wrapping up, and then, of course, only a few of them will survive. But all these companies are taking advantage of all the clarity, all the eyes on this industry. And here's another one, and I personally have said this in the past. I think Ripple is already probably, strategically deciding how they want to, roll this out, and I'm pretty sure they have this on the pipeline, to go public, and that is of course a big thing. But speaking about Gemini, shout out to Smoke. Gemini has already serving a custodian for XRP ETFs. There we have it. You cannot make this up here, guys. You can see, access XRP's growth potential, secure regulated exposure to global payments innovation through ETF holding XRP directly. And that is a big thing that we want to obviously keep in mind. But CME is getting closer to pass $1 billion in futures. Shout out to Chad, of course. One of the key factors in a crypto ETF is a strong futures market, and I 100% agree with that. Future market, you want to see strength in that as well. And you are seeing that $1 billion in futures is quite something. And of course, I agree with Chad that, it is a key factor that, you want to keep in mind when we are looking at inflows and open interest numbers. And, we are seeing, crazy numbers coming in as well. And you can see, BitGet in the lead, Binance right below it. So that is quite something. But the biggest news that I didn't really discuss with you guys is this right here. S&P Dow Jones. Yes, guys. S&P Dow Jones is eyeing tokenizations. Talks underway with exchanges, custodians, and DeFi protocols to launch a tokenized S&P indexes bridging TradeFi and DeFi by 2030. So don't expect it to happen next year or in the next month or so. It's going to take some time because you need to understand we're talking about the S&P index that tracks the top 500 largest, largest companies that are in the U.S. So pretty much, now you guys are probably wondering, who cares? We can do this already on the traditional side of things. Let this sink in. So now let's say people that are outside the U.S., and I'm sure if you're outside the U.S. and you understand finance and you understand the way the traditional market works, you understand how you would need to, obviously get exposure into the S&P 500 ETF. And it's not just rocket science. It's not just, right away. It's like instantly. No, there's a lot of hurdles. And that's what this changes. So pretty much what this is going to be is S&P, so potential includes S&P, Dow Jones, and, thematic benchmark. So what this pretty much means is there will be, if it were to be tokenized, you'll see actually a coin representing these indexes. So now let's say there's people that are outside the US that actually want exposure. So you could actually see more money flowing into the S&P, index, people wanting exposure into their portfolio, globally. And that's what tokenization changes. So that's one thing we cannot, forget. And you're starting to see big names here. We're not talking about small names. S&P eyeing this. Yeah, and again, in order for this to happen, it's not going to be overnight. It's going to be a lot of work that would need to be done to bring this into reality. But this really makes you understand why tokenization is being discussed so much. And this right here is something we don't want to be, forgetting. But if you're looking at the dominance here today, briefly speaking about the price, you're looking at the dominance pulling down. And with the way dominance is currently holding over the weekend, I'm very, very impressed. And I am eyeing, for us to see a monthly low for, the dominance. But if you're looking at Bitcoin right now, Bitcoin is sitting at $118,000 almost. We did see a retracement since last night, but you can see, we're picking up right now. XRP, on the other hand, still ranging above the $3 price point. Right now, we're sitting at about $3.11. Of course, we did react to this Bitcoin move, replicating Bitcoin's move right now. Literally, you can see this for yourself. Bitcoin was sitting at 119,000 almost. We came down to 170,300, and XRP reacted very positively. But very positively in correlation to BTC, but might not be the case for the price itself. But still holding really, really nicely above our key range at $3. I like the accumulation zone. We'll obviously keep you guys covered. Subscribe if you have not done so already. And if you're enjoying these updates, let me know in the comments, of course. And follow me on X, guys. Follow me on X. Very, very important to do so. And I can communicate with you guys on there as well. Love you all. See you later in crypto, ZX, and peace out.